Hey, Algebra I students. I hope you are well. You guys are taking a test this Friday, November the 30th. And I have a couple people out of town this week, so I just wanted to go ahead and pre-record the Zoom meeting and send it out to all of you so everybody would have access to it and you could watch it when it's convenient. So please make sure you are taking your test on Friday. You have till midnight to get your test done. All right, so let's look at some problems. I have sent them to you. So hopefully you have received those and you're going to follow along with me as we go through these problems. All right, so the first question is, which of these graphs have a zero slope? So letter A, this is not a zero slope because if we have a dot at 4, 0, or excuse me, I should say 0, 4, and then we have another dot at 5, 0, and we make our right triangle. My pen does not want me to write on here. All right, dang, if I could draw a straight line. Nothing has changed since last week, you guys. Ah, look at that. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. It's harder than it looks. If I give y'all the pen, I'm hoping you'd have problems too. I hope it's not just me. All right, so anyway, that's a little better. All right, so what is the slope of this line? First of all, it's a negative slope. It's going down and to the right. So then the rise of this line is 4. The rise of this run, the rise is 4. The run of this line is 5. And so we put rise over run. The slope of this line is -4/5. All right, and then look at letter B. B and C, we have a vertical line and we have a horizontal line. So what little acronym do we think of? Bucks Hoy. So what does Bucks mean? It means there's a vertical line. The slope of the vertical line is undefined, and there's only an X in the equation. So the equation of this line is X equals 1, 2, 3. So this does not have a zero slope. This has a undefined slope. So that means that horizontal lines, what does that O mean in Hoy? It means they have a zero slope. And the Y means only a Y is in the equation. So what is this Y value? It's -2. So the equation of this line is Y equals -2. So the answer is C. C has a zero slope. All right, number 2, what is the equation of a line that has a vertical slope, or it shouldn't say vertical slope, it should say an undefined slope. I'll try to change that before I send it to you. Has an undefined slope and passes through the point 3, 4. Well, undefined slopes goes with vertical lines, and the Bucks tells you that there's only an X in the equation. So we know the equation has to be X equals something. Well, what does X equal? If you look at the coordinate or the ordered pairs, our X value is 3, our Y value is 4. So the equation is X equals 3. Number 3, write an equation in function notation. Function notation just simply means the function of X that passes through the points 3, -2, and 5, -6. All right, so we're going to use our y2 minus y1 formula, x2 minus x1. So our second y value is -6. Our first y value is -2 over our second x value is 5 minus our first x value is 3. So -6 plus 2 is -4. So -4 over 2. Well, -4 divided by 2 is -2. So our slope is -2. So the function of X is equal to -2X. And now we don't know our plus B. We don't know our y-intercept. So now we could look down at number 4 and say, well, we could use our point slope formula. We could do that. We could also use y equals mx plus b and plug in a value for x and y, and now we know our slope, right? we have an X and Y value here and here. We actually have a choice we could use. So we'll just use the point slope formula. So I'll just use the first coordinate. So my point slope formula is y minus y1. Well, my y value is -2 equals our slope, which is -2, times x minus x1. Well, our x coordinate is 3. So y minus the -2, bam, bam. We're going to do y plus 2 equals -2 times x is -2x. -2 times -3 is +6. And then we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So our function of x is equal to -2x, and then 6 plus -2 is +4. That is the answer. Okay? All right, so then number 4, it gives us the slope, it gives us a point. So once again, we're going to use that point slope formula. So I'm going to write y minus our first y value, xy, would be -2, equals our slope is m, so that m is 3 times x minus our x value, which is -3. So we're going to do bam, bam, right? So y minus the -2, bam, bam. Y plus 2 equals 3x plus 9. And then when we subtract 2 from 9, we get y equals 3x plus 7, or the function of x, f of x equals 3x plus 7. Hope you guys are getting all these right. All right, look at numbers 5 and 6. So there's 2 questions. How are these functions the same and how do they differ? So they're the same because first of all, they're parallel, which means what? The slopes are the same. So how are they the same? The slopes are the same. So what is the slope? Well, if I do my right triangle, I would see my rise is 3 and my run is 4. So my slopes are both 3/4. And then how do they differ? Well, they're not the same line because they have different y-intercepts, correct? So the slopes are the same, but the blue line is 1, 2, 3, 4 below the purple line. So we would say the y-intercept of the blue line is 4 less than the purple line. That's how they differ. The y-intercept of the blue line is 4 less than the purple line. So for example, this slope or this equation is y equals 3/4 x plus 1, right? What about this one? Y equals 3/4 x minus 3. So 1 minus 4, 4 less than, 1 minus 4 is -3. So it's 4 less than the purple line. Okay? All right, number 7, the domain and the range. So D and R are in alphabetical order. So are X and Y. So the domain are the X values. So for the top one on number 7, what is the domain? It's 3, 9, 4, and 7. And then what is the range of this data? We got 42, 16, 25, and 6. Number 8, the function of x is equal to -4x plus 20. So they have plugged in 3 right here for where x would be, right? So that means to substitute 3 for x. So we're going to substitute 3 for x. So we get -12 plus 20. So the function of 3 is equal to 8. All right, so then it says find the function of x, or the f of x is equal to 23. Well, this whole thing takes the place of this whole thing, right? So that means we're plugging in 23 right there. The whole value is 23. In other words, we're going to set this equation equal to 23. So what are we going to do? We're going to subtract 20 from 23. So negative 4x is equal to 23 minus 20 is 3. And then we would divide both sides by negative 4. So x is equal to negative 3/4. Negative 3/4. So when x is negative 3/4, the function of x is 23. All righty. All right, look at number 9. Write a sentence comparing the slopes and intercepts of the function. So the equation is easy because 2 is the slope. So the slope of the equation over here is 2, and the y-intercept is 0.8. All right, what about this one? Well, here we're given the y-intercept. When x is 0, y is negative 10. So the y-intercept of number 9, the table, is 0, negative 10. So now how do we find the slope of this table? Well, we find the change in x, the change in y over the change in x. So the change in y, so we take our second y value, subtract from it the first y value, and then our second x value minus the first x value. So change in y over change in x. Negative 10 minus the negative 15 over 0 minus the negative 1, or we could have used this point as well. It doesn't matter. So when we do bam, bam right here and bam, bam here, we get 5 over 1, which is 5. So first of all, it wants us to compare these. So I would say the slope of the table is 3 more than the slope of the equation. That's a comparison, right? The slope of the table is 3 more than the slope of the equation. And if we're going to compare the y-intercepts, I would say the y-intercept of the table is, what would that be? 18 less than the y-intercept of the equation. The y-intercept of the table is 18 less than the y-intercept of the equation. That's a way to compare. Okay, does that make sense? All right, number 10, it gives us a table. It says that this table represents the distance of a car from its destination as a function of time. So at 0 hours, we are 900 miles from our destination. At 1 hour, we're 850 miles from our destination. So what does that mean? That means that we traveled 50 miles closer to our destination, right? So the first question, what is the y-intercept and what does it tell you about the car? It means that when we started our journey, this tells us when we started our journey, we were 900 miles away from our destination. So the y-intercept tells you your starting place. At the beginning of this journey, we were 900 miles away from our destination. So then the question is, what is the average rate of change between x equals 1 and x equals 3? So the average rate of change. So how do we find rate of change, guys? We do change in y over change in x. So our change in y, 800 minus 850, over our change in x. Our second x is 2, our first x is 1. So we have negative 50 over 1. So our rate of change is negative 50. And if we did the next group, it would be the same thing. 750 minus 800 is negative 50 over 1. So it says, what is the rate of change and what does it tell you? It tells us that this is how many hours we're traveling, right? So it tells me that we are traveling 50 miles per hour. And why is it decreasing? Because is our speed decreasing? No. What is this about? It's about destination. Yeah, how far we are from our destination. So every hour, since we're driving 50 miles an hour, we're getting 50 miles closer to our destination, but we're still going a positive 50 miles an hour, right? Negative 50 miles an hour doesn't make sense. Oh, wow, that was it. All right, so if you guys have gone through this yourselves, and if that makes sense to you and you feel like you have done well on all of these problems, if you could do them all by yourself, then good for you. You're going to do great on the test. So make sure you look over it again. I will change that word to undefined on number 2, and I'll send this to you. And like I said before, please make sure you take your test on Friday. All right, you guys, I hope everyone's had a great week. I will talk to you soon. Bye.